There's so many possibilities that are opening up to us now. It's just time for us to embrace the possibility that we don't know our limits, that things could be far more exciting than we ever dreamed possible.
I am always fascinated by energy within human and how we can use that as energy, not only to heal other people, if you believe it or not, but how to help other people. And I am a big fan of positive and negative energy. And for that reason, I have Richard Gordon here, the founder of Quantum Touch. And we're going to get into it. It's very fascinating what he's going to say and talk about, but you got to listen carefully. You got to learn. Just learn and watch. Richard, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rami.
I'm so happy you're here. We're going to talk about my favorite subject, energy.
Well, that's the subject of the day, isn't it?
How did you start the Quantum Touch? What is the story behind you?
Well, it's actually quite a long story, but around the time I was 24, my health was getting bad, just even before I turned 24. And I went to a doctor, and he said, yeah, you got a lot of problems. You got skin problems, intestinal problems, lung problems, but nothing's bad enough yet to treat. So why don't we wait till you get worse and come back? And I thought, well, that's probably the worst advice I've ever had in my life. So I went to a holistic health school, studied lots of different subjects, but the one that really touched me was energy healing. My first book came out in 1978. And a few months before it came out, I went to see this man named Robert Rasmussen. He was teaching his very first workshop on something he'd been doing for over 20 years. And he was this large, blasé grandpa, and I didn't believe a word he said. He said, well, you know, there was the time there was a woman had a tumor the size of a grapefruit and it melted in an hour. And then there was the time the child ran around the pool and broke his leg and the bone was sticking out. And I ran energy into it. An hour and a half later, the bone had come back and it mended together. He was walking comfortably the next day. And then there was the time, he said, I just touch people and the bones move back to alignment with a light touch. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy's just so full of it. But then he worked on my girlfriend, and she stood in front of the room. We were all looking at a big S curve in her spine, a major scoliosis. And he just touches her hips, and it just melted into alignment in a few 2-3 seconds. And then he touched the cranial bones, and they rolled into alignment. He touched each part of her spine.
You saw that?
I'm sitting as far away from her as I am to you. And I have perfect eyesight, and I'm watching it, my jaw's on the floor. And I think, this guy's got a rare gift. No one else is ever going to be able to learn it, and certainly not me. But in the course of the day, I actually saw, I knew how to measure the occipital ridge, that's the base of the skull, and one side was much higher than the other. And it took me a while to get the energy moving the way I had been taught, but once I did, within 2 seconds, it had aligned, and I was astounded. Well, Bob lived 100 miles from where the workshop was, but so did I. I was his neighbor, so I'd call him up all the time and say, hey, Bob, can I come on over? And he said, sure. So I apprenticed with him, took over in his retirement, and then evolved his work so much further than he or I could have imagined. So that was back in 1978, and here we are. A few years later.
Why did you call it Quantum Touch?
Because in order for energy and consciousness to affect matter, it's not going to happen on a gross physical level. It has to happen on a quantum or subatomic level. And one of the phenomenon we see that really illustrates this clearly is that you can take a dry wine, run energy into it, and it changes the flavor of the wine. That can only happen on a subatomic level. It can't happen on a gross physical level. So I'll tell you a funny story about that. I went to a winery one time, and I said to the woman behind the counter, I said, are you a wine connoisseur? She said, yes. I said, well, would you do me a favor? I've learned how to change the taste of wine by running energy into it. Will you test it? She says, this is probably the stupidest thing anybody ever said to me in my life. And I said, well, would you humor me and help me get over my delusions? She said, oh, okay. So she pours 2 tiny glasses of wine. I hold one of them for a minute, hand it back to her. She tastes it, tastes the other, tastes it, tastes the other, and says, do you know what you've done? I said, what? She says, you've demolished the complexity and nearly eliminated the aftertaste. And I said, is that good? She said, no, it's very bad. So I teased her at that point because she had given me a hard time. And I said, if you like, I can charge all the bottles in here at once. And she slams her hands on the table and says, no, don't do that. So we're affecting infants, animals, people under general anesthesia, plants, fluids, and even minerals. So we're not doing it with a physical energy that can be measured. This isn't the kind of energy that's going to move the meter. It's what we call the life force energy, the prana, as the Indians call it, or the chi, as the Chinese describe it. And Dr. Beverly Rubik found 70-odd words that different cultures use for the energy. The Western scientists called it woo, placebo, or nonsense. But it's a real energy that we can all utilize, and I've taught many, many thousands of people over the decades how to use this energy to accelerate the healing process and to bring down pain.
I personally believe we as a human, all of us, we have some energy within our body, mind, body, whatever we're going to call it. I'm a big fan of the energy because you have a positive or negative energy. That's why I can't hang around with negative energy. I can feel that negative, force on me, and I kind of get nauseous. I don't know what is it. I cannot explain it. And I get, positive energy as well. And sometimes I hang around with the people, they suck my energy.
Yes.
And I go low. I believe the energy. And I think we can, I never done it. I never saw it.
Yes.
That people that can actually heal. I have heard about it, but I never saw somebody like heal something through energy, but it's possible. I believe it. I'm going to see it, but it's possible. I know that everything is possible. Like aging, and we talk off camera, we're going backward. Like I didn't even know that you are all past like 76, 77. Oh my God, you look good. And is things are changing, and unfortunately, we don't want to talk about it.
Well, what you're bringing up about feeling other people's energy is very significant, because the way energy healing works is very simple. We learn how to raise our energy through breathing and body awareness. There's no belief system you have to accept. You can be as skeptical, even cynical as you like, and it still works, because we're doing something naturally. So what we're doing is we're moving body sensation through ourselves and linking it to waves of breathing patterns. And that's how we do the work. Now, the way it works is this. It's all resonance and entrainment. If you hold a high vibration and you're in the field of another person, they will match your energy. What you feel is when you're with somebody who's experiencing a lot of suppressed pain and anger and hurt, and you call it negative energy, but I think it's just blocked energy. So when they're blocking their energy and they're carrying a lot of suffering in their being, right? You're starting to match their energy. And that's why you feel drained, tired, and unhappy.
Oh,
because
okay.
You're not holding the energy higher, you're allowing your energy to match theirs. Now, what the practitioner does is they learn how to hold an extremely high vibration of energy, and they hold a field. And then the other person matches their field, and then that stimulates their own body's self-healing mechanisms. So we like to say the definition of a healer is someone who was sick and got well. A great healer was very sick and got well quickly. We don't heal anybody else. What we're doing, it looks that way on the outside, and
Yes.
Hollywood would say that's what's happening. But that's not really, my hands light up and all that magic, stuff they talk about. But what really happens is I'm doing self-healing on myself, and I'm holding a higher vibration, and you're in my field. And I don't let my vibration come down. I'm holding it steady so your energy level comes up, and that's how we match.
But how you hold yourself steady, what you have to do in order to don't come down, or
what you do is you learn the basic quantum touch technique of moving awareness through your body and doing deeper breathing. It's that simple. And you can do it while you're watching a movie. You can do it while you're reading a book. You can do it while you're walking the dog. It doesn't have to be like I have to meditate and go into a special space. This is such a natural human ability that the world forgot, lost, or ignored. It's right there. It's always been there. We have these abilities innate within us. It's not like I have to teach you something. I've had students complain that this was the easiest skill that they've ever learned. They said, but I didn't have to take notes. Sorry. It's natural. It's innate within us. These abilities are already inside of us.
But can we heal ourselves?
Of course. All healing is self-healing. That's what I'm saying, is that all healing is self-healing. When the practitioner gives you extra energy, you're doing self-healing in your own body. So here's the rub. About a year and a half ago, I was teaching a retreat in Cancun. And I hadn't seen many. These are people who had been working with me for decades in many cases. And I hadn't seen many of them in 10, 15 years. So good to renew our friendship again. But what I noticed was they didn't look like they were aging. And I thought, wait a second. I know I was aging more slowly than people would expect. What about them? And then I realized just the basic quantum touch work is slowing the aging process. Not reversing it, but slowing it, just by practicing it daily, was doing self-healing. And if aging is entropy, healing is syntropy, the opposite of entropy. We'll go into that in more detail, but the bottom line is we then came up with a hypothesis that if you can get the energy high enough, strong enough, and long enough, not only can we potentially stop aging, but we can potentially reverse it. And that's what we're seeing now. And now I'm doing a daily work on myself to bring my energy to even higher levels than ever before to reverse it. And I'm seeing a lot of symptoms of reversal of aging right now. And when I told ChatGPT which things have changed inside my body, first off, it was completely surprised to see that the elastin is coming back, because that's not supposed to happen. The skin is tightening up in dramatic ways. The wrinkles are disappearing. The crepe skin completely disappeared. The hanging skin is about 85% tighter. It's a real reversal, and it suggests that I'm getting about 6 or 8 years younger each year now, based on the speed and timing. So about 1 year younger every 2 months. It appears to be what's happening right now.
This is very fascinating. Basically, with learning quantum touch, we can not only reverse aging, but we can actually prevent a lot of basic diseases or basic sickness.
We can certainly help our health. And I did a study with the men's basketball team at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And I did 100 sessions on the men's basketball team. And they were all documented. What time did I begin, and what was their pain level before, after, how would they describe it, what are their impressions. The coach signed off on it all. What we saw was that an average 10-minute session reduced their pain by 50%. And I had one of my students tell me that there's a professional baseball team using my work, but they'll never admit it. And another student told me there's a professional football team using my work, but they'll never admit it. It's their secret way of keeping the players healthier longer. But ultimately, it doesn't stop all illness. We don't want to overstate it. People still need to take responsibility for their diet, their lifestyle, and even more so, when there's suppressed emotion, it can express itself as symptoms. And so that was another process that I discovered. It took me 30 years to figure out how to find the emotional causes of health conditions and how people can then do a deep emotional process within themselves to release the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt that causes the fear and holds the trauma in place. So not only do they release it, but they get to a level of self-forgiveness. And not only do symptoms disappear, but they're grateful they had the condition, because the body had the ability to be sick, not as a dysfunction, but a communication from their higher consciousness on how they had stopped loving. The illness was a gift. Not a nice gift, what I'll call the beginning of a potential dark miracle. When the illness or accident or something terrible happens, it's just dark. There's nothing good about it whatsoever. But if you're able to learn from it and get to the other side, you realize it's a miracle. Now, I could ask you directly, were there some terrible things that happened in your life that made you who you are today?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
Everybody, absolutely.
Everybody has very difficult experiences, but then you realize, I could never have become the person I am
because of those experiences.
I needed those experiences. So they're dark miracles in the making. They're only dark when they happen, but when you get to the other side, they have the potential of being miracles.
And why some people keep doing things that they will harm them, or they don't understand that?
Because they didn't learn.
Interesting.
If they don't learn, you repeat it. And the insurance companies actually know that you create your reality. They don't say it, but they know it. Because if your car gets damaged while you're parked at Kmart, that's an accident.
Yes.
But if it gets hit a second time when it's parked at a shopping mall, they're going to raise your insurance. And the third time they're going to raise your insurance because they know it's you. If it was always an accident, they'd say, well, it's just an accident. But it keeps happening to you. Some people will break the same leg over and over again. They'll get into an accident and the accident will break the same leg. And the insurance companies know, well, you keep getting hit by lightning, buddy. It must be you. It isn't just accident anymore.
I tell you a story. When I was in last year of the middle school, it was my sister's birthday. And we had a family friend. It was a gentleman. And he came to our house and he said, I forgot to bring you a gift, honey, but I can do something that you can see. And I didn't understand it. I'm telling you, I swear to God, I saw it with my own eyes. And he said, give me a quarter, or drop the quarter on the floor. And, my sister, she dropped the quarter on the floor. He said it before. He said, guys, if I pass out, do not do anything. I will come back. And he started focusing on that quarter.
Yeah.
And he said, everybody be quiet. He started focusing on that quarter. And quarter, it just flipped, stood vertical, and he started moving the quarter. And then we thought it's like a kind of, like a magic. It was nothing between him and it was
right.
He said, I'm using my energy. Before that, he said, I want to show you how the energy works. And the quarter was rolling.
Wow.
And I said, dear Lord, is that right? And then after that, the quarter fell down and he passed out. And he lost all his energy, and it took him like 30 minutes. He was breathing, everything. I said, just don't touch me. I'll be back. And I said, this is the power of energy. That's what we can do.
Here's the thing. I've tried to do
moving objects.
I've tried, but I've failed. I always fail. So my work doesn't really move objects, but it affects biological and other systems. I have one of my students who puts like something that barely sits there in a jar, a sealed jar, and she'll put her hands around it and she'll get it to spin a little bit. And she can do it repeatedly. So there's no wind, there's no possible way she's doing it. But it's not something I've focused on, and I don't have any ability to do this as far as I know. But there are reports of people.
It's possible.
Yeah. The telekinesis where you're actually moving objects. But it's certainly outside my realm of understanding and experience.
But do you think that this energy that we're talking about has a correlation, direct or indirect correlation with depression?
Depression? Well, depression is generally suppressed anger.
Not energy.
No, it's not about energy, it's about anger. And so what happens is when, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, or a sudden shift of expectations that are really hard. So the person has like hundreds and hundreds of small hits in their life where they just keep getting upset again and again and again. And then it just takes one more straw to break the camel's back, so to speak, and they go into depression. And then they try to drug you and say, well, maybe you won't have to feel anything. Well,
I've been there.
That's not going to help a lot, but it may help you cope, but it doesn't really solve the problem. So what happens is when people learn how to find out what the real anger is, rage, and release the intensity of the emotion, your energy comes back and the depression goes away. But it's not an easy thing to do because it means so many things in your life may have to shift. And
but based on what you're saying right now, I'm getting at that all of us, for some reason, we're holding energy within our body.
well, we can use the word energy in a very general way. And what I'm talking about is a subtle energy. Yes, we feel our own body energy and we have vitality or lack of vitality. That's a kind of energy. I'm speaking of a metaphysical energy that can't be measured with equipment. It can't be measured with meters. It's a spiritual energy that we all have access to. It's the animating current of life. There's no chemical difference between something living and dead, but there's an energy we work with. And so when I'm sending energy, which is also amplified by love, so I'm using breathing, body awareness, intention, and love to move this kind of energy. And one of the things that I found is that I can demonstrate this in an empirical way to scientists. And so when I went to the university, I didn't attend the University of Arizona, but I went there and I got to talk to a whole room full of scientists, mostly postdocs and a professor. And I told them what I had learned, how I had gotten there, and they said, demonstrate to us. And I showed them that physical objects can actually hold energy intention and do two things simultaneously that are not subject to placebo. And what I showed them was I could touch somebody's shoulder with an object I'd meditated on, like a coin, and instantly twisted hips would become untwisted and twisted cranial bones would become level. So they
just by touching the object?
Yeah, but it wasn't just touching the object. This was over a 30-year, actually more like a 40-year process of discovering how to do this. It wasn't like I just came across it. It was many evolutions of the work to get there. But what it was I learned how to move the awareness through my body, just like I told you. I learned how to send the energy through my hands or my heart chakra. I learned how to put it into a physical object. One of my students told me about a bone behind the nose and eyes called the sphenoid bone. And if I meditate on the sphenoid bone, I can get it to move. Now, I'm not moving it. It's the person's own body that's moving it. I'm just giving the energy and the intention for it to do so. But I don't move anything. I just send the energy intent. Their body moves it. And once that bone moves, the cranial bones instantly align, the hips instantly align. These are two things that are not subject to suggestion. And it can be done from thousands of miles away. So I showed the scientists. And what they did was they had 4 people measuring each person. They'd touch the hips and say, well, this side's definitely high. Let me measure that. Oh, yeah, it is really high. Let me measure that. Oh, yeah, it's high. So then, after doing this to 7 different people, they said, well, there's no doubt this is unquestionably real. This is a real phenomenon. And 4 of the postdocs said they wanted to research and publish. Then they bragged about their MRIs, CT scans, ultrasound, and other equipment I'd never even heard of. We're going to get the best measurements. We're so excited. And then the first guy said, but if I do this, I know I'll never get tenure at the university. And the second, third, and fourth said, yep, this would be academic suicide. I'll never pay back my student loans. And then the head professor said he knew of no university anywhere in the world open to these discoveries. He compared me to Ignaz Semmelweis, Gregor Mendel, James Lind, William Harvey, Galileo, Giordano Bruno, and said, you're probably not going to be recognized in this lifetime, but good luck. And so I'm recognizing that this is a 1-second empirical demonstration that the mind is not confined to the brain. This little demonstration would change our understandings of physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, philosophy, and now we're discovering aging, that we can start to potentially reverse aging. And we've seen a lot of indication that that's the case. So what we're sitting on here would be the biggest shift of human consciousness, maybe ever.
Why these people that you just mentioned, or public in general, why we don't want to What is the reason? Is it financial? Is it is something?
Yeah.
Is it something that we don't want to believe? Is it something that does not exist? Or what is the reason that they're blocking you?
As Einstein said, new ideas, I'm slightly misquoting, new ideas are always met by, violent opposition by mediocre minds. But what it really comes down to is the money. Because everything at the university, all the hierarchy and prestige and fame and the money is all based on the assumption of materialism in science. And Kai Dixon has this wonderful podcast called The Telepathy Tapes, where she's showing how materialism in science is an incomplete idea. But the whole edifice of the medical system, the hospitals, the insurance companies, the universities, everything, the entire edifice is built on materialism. The assumption that everything will be measured with math and explained eventually, that's the promise, through math, physics, and logic. That's it. It's all going to be explained through math, physics, and logic. Once I can do it now by waving my finger and saying boing, and I can instantly align somebody's hips and cranial bones from thousands of miles away. So I made 3 videos last year where the first person, this wonderful woman, she won't mind if I mention her name, Joanne Faramon. She lives in Portugal, and she saw me messaging on X that, hey, gather a group of people and a chiropractor, physical therapist, or osteopath, somebody knows how to measure posture, and I'll align everyone on a Zoom call. So she decided to take me up on it to prove that I couldn't do it. So she got an osteopath.
And you went through it?
Oh yeah, we did this. We did 3 of them. So I did it with Joanne, and so the only thing I did was I met the osteopath on the video. I said, look, here's what we're going to measure. We're going to measure the tilt of the hips. We're not measuring the twist. We're not measuring this and that. We're only measuring the tilt of the hips and the tilt of the occipital ridge. And he said, okay, once you've measured them and you know what you see, have them look in the camera. They look in the camera for 2 or 3 seconds. And I said, okay, now measure them again. And he did. And we did everybody. Joanna was the first one to be aligned. She went, I'll go first. And she went, what? Because she could actually feel it happen. Most people don't feel it, but her hips were so twisted, and they just instantly aligned on the video. Now, I was 5,000 miles away. I was in Mexico, living in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, and she was aligned. Well, since that happened, she has learned to use quantum touch herself. She's become a practitioner. She has made video of herself doing the alignment on video from thousands of miles away. So she's a big supporter now. And then I did it in Dominican Republic from Mexico, and I did it with somebody in Transylvania, Romania. And so we did 22 people in a row, including the doctors. Works pretty much every time.
What the doctors said.
They're amazed. One of the interesting things was, in one of the people, the hips moved, but the occipital ridge didn't. Or maybe it was the other way around, I forget. But only one of the 2 moved, and he was really quick to point out, well, that didn't change. I said, yeah, that's how the body works. I'm not doing the healing. But it was really cool because half of it worked, the other half didn't. Well, not my responsibility. I'm just sending the energy. They're the one doing the change. But it was great because he called me out to say, yes, this one didn't actually finish. I said, yeah, that's how it works. It's not perfect.
Basically, you can try, maybe in the hips or the neck, but on some other part of the body, but it might not work.
No, here's the thing. We see it working on infants. There's a nurse who saw that a baby was born with plates in the head overlapping. And the doctor scheduled surgery for the baby to get the plates to not overlap. And the surgery couldn't happen for 2.5 hours. So she holds the baby on her lap and runs energy into the baby. And by the time the surgery was ready to happen, the plates had already moved. We had a nurse anesthesiologist, and during surgeries, the blood oxygen levels would crash. And so what she did was she walked over. Now, if the blood oxygen level goes down sufficiently, they call it blood gas levels, what happens is the person could go into a coma and potentially die. And she walks over, runs the energy in the first time, and it just goes right up again. And she goes, oh, that's good. And she starts walking away and it starts crashing again. Oops. She goes back and does it longer. She holds it for 15, 20 minutes and now it's stabilized. They called her Nurse Bombay, Dr. Bombay, after the TV show. And every time a patient had their blood oxygen level crashing. So what I'm telling you is that this works on thousands of conditions. The only reason I lean on the alignment is because it's something I can show instantly for everybody. And it's visible without special equipment. Now, Galileo didn't need to prove in a double-blind study that the moons of Jupiter exist. You just have to look. I don't need to do a double-blind study on this. If somebody's hips are dramatically tilted like that, and a second later they look like that, that's like seeing the moons of Jupiter. They're there. You don't have to prove it. You just look. We don't need to do a double blind on this because it's impossible for a person standing balanced to move their hips. No one can do it.
What you just said or have done, a lot of people, they're not going to like it. Because as you said, it's challenging.
It challenges.
It challenges the people,
Yes.
practitioner within medical field. And they feel threat.
Well,
Do you think they feel threat or
no, they don't feel anything.
it's an unknown territory?
It's unknown territory. We're so invisible culturally. We're no threat to anybody at this point. We're just holding a space. Maybe in 30 years or 20 years or 40 years, this thing could be integrated. You see, the thing is, we don't take away their work. We enhance it. We don't stop them from doing what they're doing. We enhance what they have. So I had a physical therapist tell me, he said, I can no longer practice physical therapy the way I was taught in college. I have to use your work as my primary thing. But he still does a tremendous amount of work with the people. He just uses my work as a foundation of all the other things. Because a physical therapist can't, if you've got a frozen shoulder and it's really hurting, you can't use force to make it better. You need to actually help heal it. Now, they can still do a lot of therapy with a person. So we don't take away from what they're doing. We enhance what they have.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, but it's a fundamental tool that would make things better. Now, it could prevent a lot of people from needing care for minor things that really shouldn't have interventions. Like, for instance, the work I did with the athletes, accelerating their healing. But we should all know this. This is a basic skill that every person should have. Every friend, husband, wife, parent, grandparent, sibling. We should all know how to do this for our loved ones, family, and friends.
I'm just going to ask you something that I have been suffering from this pain of my muscle for years, constant pain every day. I got used to it. I can't even sleep in this side of my face. Do you think that's going to work on my muscle?
I don't know. Well, you see, here's the fun thing. We don't predict outcome. We can't treat, diagnose, or prescribe. We're not doctors. What we do is we offer the energy and hope something good happens. Now, more often than not, something wonderful happens, but we can't predict it. It's not even legal for us to say what's going to happen, but we offer the energy as a gift. And if the gift is received, it is. Now, what I like to do is I like to give the energy, and it usually works, but not always, because it isn't perfect. But if it doesn't, then we go to our toolkit and say, well, what else do we have? Oh, we can find the emotional issue that's holding it in place. And then when you do the inner work and the symptoms goes away, you're grateful that you even had it. Now, it's possible the energy will be enough, and it's possible that it's not. I'm not attached either way. But that's how we would approach it. We'd give the energy, and if that tool isn't big enough, then say, okay, we'll put the ball back in your court, help you figure out exactly why it's there. See, I figured out a system to discover emotional cause. That took me 30 years. But I came up with this 7-step system. And when people process it, like I said, not only do symptoms go away, but people are incredibly grateful that they had the condition because it showed how they had stopped loving.
With all the challenges that you are facing right now to get all this out there,
Yeah.
and your personal beliefs and what you have done, Why are you keep doing it?
Well, I'm more excited and motivated than I've ever been.
Why?
Because we're standing on the threshold of a new world. We're standing on the threshold of new human potential and possibilities. This would change human identity forever. And it's a bridge between science and spirituality. What could be more exciting than changing all the fundamentals? We'll still keep the fundamentals of the science, but adding a dimension to the sciences that they didn't even know existed. This is the biggest shift of human consciousness perhaps we've ever seen. And it makes us more loving. Because when you realize that the blockages to loving are what holds us in place, holds us back so deeply and profoundly. And when we get our energy up, we're healthier, happier, more capable of doing things in the world. How could you not be excited to see this stuff? And yes, I am temporarily shadow banned in a lot of places. I mean, pretty much everywhere I go.
Why do you think that they did that?
Well, I think they see it as a potential threat, even though, yes, my books are in 17 languages, and yes, we've had practitioners in 50 countries, but it doesn't make money for the institutions. When people are more self-reliant, they don't need to get the outside interventions.
But we still need doctors.
Yes, we do. And like I say, this doesn't replace them at all. This enhances them. We had one oncologist who wrote us a really beautiful letter that he said it helps everything, but he says, except he didn't say anything about curing cancer at all. But what he says is it improves their attitude, improves their energy, reduces their pain, makes them have more mobility. And he just listed like 12 things that it helped. He didn't say it fixed their cancer, but you know that if their energy and attitude and emotions and mobility are improving, that they're more likely to heal faster. And so that's what this is it's an enhancement for the medical industry, and it is an industry, and it's an enhancement for our own lives. And that's why I'm really excited to be doing my event, where I'm going to talk about not just the stories that brought me to the place, but all the principles and implications of these stories that have happened and how people can radically enhance their life. Plus, visions of where this goes in the future, because we could have an entirely new future on the planet. And there's so many possibilities that are opening up to us now. It's just time for us to embrace the possibility that we don't know our limits, that things could be far more exciting than we ever dreamed possible, that this is an open door to a new future. I think that ultimately there is the potential of limitlessness. When you have the deeper energy to work with, you have a higher level of gratitude because you're grateful for the healing that happened within you. You're grateful for being able to help loved ones that you care about feel better. You're grateful to have these other freedoms that it provides. What we're doing is we're allowing ourselves. Okay, let me just show you something right now. Hold up a finger. Can you feel your finger without touching it?
Yeah.
Can you increase the sensation in your finger by putting your awareness into your finger? Okay, breathe deeply. Imagine you're breathing through your finger. And imagine you're stroking your finger with an imaginary feather. Can you feel what part of your finger you're touching with the feather?
I can feel top of my finger now.
Yeah. Now, can you feel the pad of the finger?
Yep.
Okay, so what you're doing is you have much more sensation in your finger now than you did a minute ago. What we teach people to do is to feel every inch of their body.
Basically, what you're teaching me to be aware of my feelings.
Of sensation.
And sensation.
But look at this. When we don't see the wind, we see the leaves rustling in the wind.
Yes.
We don't see the life force energy, but we feel the nerve sensation when we bring the life force energy to our body. See, the awareness and intention moves the life force energy. But we also do another dimension that amplifies it radically. Now hold your finger up again. Now take deep breaths And imagine you're breathing through your finger and see if you can amplify the sensations while you're doing deeper breathing. Is it getting stronger?
Yes.
Yes. So that's what we're doing. The quantum touch work is not about body awareness. It's not about breathing. It's not just about the love. It's the synergy of all three of those together. When we're linking the body awareness patterns of moving the energy through ourselves, there's a whole bunch of patterns you learn. There's a bunch of breathing patterns we learn. When we link them together with our intention and our love, that's when we get the synergy of energy. It isn't just the breathing. It isn't the body awareness. It's the synergy of all these elements combined. And people can learn it immediately because you already know how to feel your finger. It's like kindergarten. Can you feel your finger? Hold your finger in the air. It's basic. It's totally basic, but it's been invisible because people who don't want to believe this stuff ignore it. What we're doing is we're feeling every toe. We're feeling every part of it.
You have to focus on it. You have to drive that energy to that specific
That's exactly right. We move it with an energy and intention. And then here's what happens. We learn how to move it in waves through our body. And that takes some practice. So that's what we do in the workshop. We teach people how to practice and feel the waves of sensation moving through our body. We learn to link it with certain breathing patterns. And then we learn how to channel it through our hands. And the early sessions, we're using this very complex technique called the where does it hurt technique. And you sandwich the part that's hurting on the other person.
Can be like my jaw here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you sandwich it between your hands and you run the energy through it. We call it running the energy. That's the active process of the breathing body awareness to move the energy. And so the quantum touch techniques are very basic, simple, easy skills that transform people's lives. We have workshops regularly that are online. Like my friend Tyler is doing one very soon from the Quantum Touch website. People can register, and it's like a whole weekend workshop where he walks you through. And Tyler's really good because he can actually see the energy.
Really?
And if you're moving the energy, and he looks at you on the camera, on a Zoom call, and he says, "Well, you're stopping at your elbow. You're not bringing it all the way to your hand." He can see that, and he can actually help people to move the energy because when they're getting it blocked and they're not letting it move, he can actually see where it goes. So some of our practitioners have developed, the people doing the work often start to open up psychic abilities. Didn't happen for me, although I tend to have a sense of knowing sometimes. I don't see it, I don't hear it, I just kind of have a knowing sometimes. But other people can actually see where to put their hands, or they can see where a blockage is, or they can actually see the energy. But each person's different. And some people can clearly see the energy. I've got lots of stories about that too.
There's another story I tell you. Maybe you have a reason for it. I don't know. But my mother, this is about 50 years ago. She's 85 right now. She had severe depression, very depression. And 50 years ago, the medical field wasn't that sophisticated right now with all this. They said, one of the ways to heal her depression is to give her electric shock.
Sure. Jeez.
And she went through 7 sessions in the hospital, like electric shock.
Yeah.
After she was done, came home, she had a lost memory short and then got back. But since then, I don't know what happened, what activated in her body. She can feel things. Like, for example, I never forget, I put it like a crystal, like a flower thing in my car when I was in high school. And, and she said, you gotta drop that and that's gonna break. And I said, I sit in my front seat, I put these things around it. Mom, you start again. He said, no, I see it. And you're gonna drop it, break it. And I went to my friend's house. I had to take it to his mom, my friend, she needed it. As soon as I opened the door and I pick it up, I don't know what happened. I dropped it and broke. Or she sees things. It's weird for you guys who listen to things, but like when I'm like under the weather, she's 12,000 miles away. Yeah. She calls me. She said, "Are you sick?" I said, "Oh, no." She said, "Don't lie to me, son. You're underwear? I said, yeah. I said, okay, I could feel it. It's just weird. Like I have no explanation.
There is an explanation. There's been a lot of studies on psychic abilities, and it turns out the people who are really close to each other are far more psychic about each other than strangers. A lot of the studies they did on psychic abilities where they have two strangers and they don't have much of a connection. But if you listen to the telepathy tapes, the autistic children who have no ability to speak, but they can spell, and that's how they communicate. And the teacher or therapist or parent is often able to even hear the child talking to them directly, and they're having conversations, and it's been shown beyond any doubt whatsoever that this is a real phenomenon. So psychic abilities exist, and perhaps the electric stimulation triggered something in her to open her up. Now, their only tool is a hammer, and that's what they're doing, electroshock therapy, but it might have had some other opening for her to stimulate some latent ability that she had to be knowing, so she can feel the waves of probability in the future.
She can hold your hand and say, Richard, what you were worried about? You're going to be okay.
Yeah, she's tapping in. Yeah, just like my practitioners can see energy, she's tapping in on feeling. So her awareness and psychic abilities have opened up. Now, we shouldn't think of this as unusual. We should think of it as latent in all of us. This is just a basic part of being a human being. But imagine a culture that never learned to count or read. Well, you can count how many sticks there are. That's amazing. You can actually look at these squiggles on a page and know what the person meant to say. It's only because we learned, but we've unlearned the psychic abilities that we had previously. And so the nonverbal children develop these skills.
Basically, what I'm getting from our discussion is, as a human, we are powerful beyond imagination.
We are more than we have imagined ourselves to be. And I'm just scratching the surface. I figure I've probably discovered maybe 1 or 2% of what I am capable of discovering in this lifetime. And the discoveries keep happening faster and faster now. So it's a very exciting time to be doing this. And as people start to explore these realms, they realize I am more than I thought I was. I can be more than I thought.
Where do you want to take the quantum touch? What is your goal?
Well, the goal is to change our assumptions about physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, philosophy, aging, forever.
And how many practitioners do you have right now? You graduated or taught?
Maybe we've got 1,000 right now.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. I mean, but we've had thousands more. We're in 50 countries, and my books are in 17 languages. This is a really basic thing, but we have a very wide footprint, but a very shallow footprint. We haven't made a deep impression. Most people have never heard of quantum touch. And most educated people know better than to look at it because it doesn't fit the paradigm, the fundamental belief, the worldview that everything will be explained with math and physics, and therefore this can't be real. And I've had people outright dismiss it, say, well, there's nothing here because it can't be true. It isn't true because it can't be true.
And then why would we believe that spirits exist?
Well, some people do, some people don't. The bottom line is I can show phenomenon that cannot be explained. So, for instance, another really easy phenomenon to demonstrate, I just made a movie of this a couple weeks ago. I had a woman lay down. I set up a camera above her head, and she has another phone, like on her chest, with a stopwatch counting forward. I put my hands on her head. Within 7 seconds, her eyes started fluttering. Her eyelids started fluttering. This means she went into a hypnagogic state. Hypnagogic state, Google it or check it with ChatGPT. Usually takes a long time for their eyes to get to the point where it starts fluttering. Occasionally, a hypnotist can get it going more quickly, but she remained in the hypnagogic state for the 13 minutes I was holding her head. Now, that's just not happening. But I've got other videos where that happens again, where you can just touch a person. So when we've wired people to EEG, very, very quickly their brainwaves come down into the deepest states of sleep or meditation within seconds or minutes. Everybody goes into these really deep states. We're seeing so many phenomena that could be researched and understood. We could be changing fundamental areas of our belief and our life if we adopted this. But because it's a new paradigm, because it's a post-material science, that's what you should really call it, we need a new kind of university system, not based on academia, based on solutions for humanity. In other words,
I love that.
I call it a synergy solution university. And if I had 10 minutes with Elon Musk, that's what I would talk about. Is that for just about $3 billion, if anybody has some spare billions, we can build this immediately. And what it would be is they'd study everything that could create solutions for mankind. They could study architecture, agriculture, healing. They could study psychology. They could study nutrition. They can study everything that could potentially benefit us. And you get the brightest, most passionate, enthusiastic, idealistic students from around the world coming. You got the open-minded scientists and professors, philosophers, and people coming. And then every department would be open to every other department. There's no hierarchy. Everybody can. So my dream is I would have a little house on campus. And I could wander to any department and say, what are you working on? And they said, well, we've got this agricultural thing where we're finding out if we use this kind of a new fertilizer and we do this and we do that. I said, okay, let's see what happens if we add energy to the system. Okay, let's see what happens when you take the stamen and pestle of a plant and you put them together and they start to create. Maybe we can change the genome energetically to create spiritually modified organisms. And we could do these experiments. What happens if you take planaria or C. elegans, the little tiny roundworms, and you run energy? Will they live longer? Probably so. We could run thousands of experiments and find out what actually works. Then the bright people who came up with new solutions could get financially rewarded and make money for the university. This is a new system of finding solutions in the world, not rewarding BS of the universities that just study nonsense or reward tenure for no reason whatsoever. It's all based on, and if somebody gets into their ego, they don't fit the university. It's all about sharing and being open, enthusiastic, passionate, and being willing to make new discoveries and let the young people have something exciting to be passionate about.
I think it will happen. You put the idea out in the universe.
I just did.
I'm telling you, in the universe, you and I might not see it in our, lifetime.
I'm going to live a long time.
I love that. If you go back to 50 years ago, did you even think that one day I'm going to FaceTime you on the iPhone?
We did see Dick Tracy's watch with an iPhone, with an iPhone on it with Skype. Dick Tracy in the 1960s had Skype on his iPhone. You could look at the old Dick Tracy cartoons, and he had a watch with a video on it.
I know that will become reality. One day you go to a spiritual clinic and then they say, what is the thing? Oh, my energy is low. Can you I'm going to go to this class, just, level up my energy. And I think that will happen because, as I said again, we have so much power within us.
We have no idea. We have no idea. We see our true identity is spiritual.
I 100% agree with you that.
Our true identity is spiritual, but we get lost in the matrix of emotional distress and trauma, and I got to make enough money, and I got to do this.
But, you experience that when you believe something, your beliefs is the foundation of everything. Like if you believe that, I'm capable, I can do this, and you release, I think, that energy and you go do it and you be successful. That's more than money. This is totally within you, spiritual, that you tell yourself, I'm capable. I'm releasing that energy to the universe and myself, and I can do it. I can do it.
Well, that's where it starts. You see, people don't realize that their beliefs, their core beliefs, not what they want to believe, but what their core beliefs are, determine your attitudes. And your attitudes determine all your thoughts and feelings. And your thoughts and feelings determine all your choices and decisions. So all your decisions are based upon your beliefs. And people don't question their beliefs. But our beliefs have the potential of changing. And so ideally in growth, we substitute a freer belief for a less free belief. And all our beliefs are false because they're all limited. And all our beliefs are true because we will manifest what we believe. Now, how many people have their beliefs validated by their life? I know men are all this, or women are that, or I can't do this, or the world is this way. And their world reveals that their beliefs are true because they attract a reality that matches their beliefs. And when you shift a belief, the reality can shift. And so this is a deeper piece of understanding that most people never arrive at, which is that the reality is more fluid than we knew. Just as our beliefs could change, I mean, you could believe you're very limited and broken, or you could believe you're less limited and less broken. And that's a totally valid step, and you can continue taking more and more steps. So what's happening for me now, I'm halfway to 77 now, is I'm believing that it's entirely possible that we can reverse aging with this work. I think a lot of people would want to know how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the way to begin...
I want to know how to do that.
The way to begin is what I showed you with your finger. You learn how to use the basic quantum touch. And the basic quantum touch is where you're feeling every inch of your body and you're linking it to various breathing patterns. That raises your energy. That slows the entropy. Because if you consider aging as entropy, this is my big theory at the moment, which is that entropy is going from order to disorder. Healing is going from disorder back to order. You cut your finger, that's entropy. You heal your finger, that's syntropy, the opposite of entropy. Now, the DNA knows how to self-repair. You can look it up in the books. The cells know how to detoxify. The proteins know how to fold. The whole system knows how to repair itself. The telomeres know how to get longer. Now, if you provide the right energy environment, all these things can take place. So the idea now, and there's a new workshop called Becoming Ageless that we're starting to teach around the world. We have a new one coming up in Portugal soon. And the idea is raise your energy high enough, strong enough, and long enough, and then the body and spiritual intelligence can stop and potentially reverse aging. And now we're seeing it happening more and more.
I have a question for you. In general, we cannot feel are part of our bodies. But as soon as, for example, I focus
Yes.
on one specific part of the body, I can feel that spot.
Yes.
Like, for example, my kneecap.
Yeah.
When I'm like sitting, I don't feel it. As soon as I focus on my left kneecap, I can feel my kneecap.
That's exactly what we're working with. And so what happens is when I started doing this in 1978, I noticed I couldn't feel my face. There were parts of my chest I couldn't feel. There were areas, if you saw a photograph of what I could feel and not feel, it was blotchy. It was like big areas where I couldn't feel, areas where I could feel. And with practice, you light everything up, so to speak. It all turns on. Now, it takes practice, and it's like a muscle. You get stronger with practice. And you learn how to be able to move the energy through in huge waves where it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And in that regard, it's really about practice, focus, intention, and allowance. And so we work with this, and we also do the breathing with it because the breathing amplifies the life force energy, the prana, the chi. And that's the energy that slows, stops, and potentially reverses aging. And because the scientists know better than to believe in this goofy woo-woo stuff that they call it, they won't even look at it. They won't even study it. It's right in front of us. You feel it in your body every minute. Kind of like, you remember the Starship Enterprise? You hear that little hum in the background going on. Well, that's the hum of our life force energy in our body. We feel it all the time. It's the animating current of life that's inside of us, but we ignore it because, that's just, it's just my body sensation. I don't pay any attention to it at all. It doesn't matter. But it's right there. It's right in front of us all the time.
And when is your event? When your event is coming up?
It's April 19, 7 to 10 p.m. at the Omni downtown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all the biggest ideas, and I'm going to demonstrate on everybody who comes. Everybody who shows up. So I'm going to have people come on stage and we'll do demonstrations, and then afterwards I'll align everybody who shows up.
Man, that's
I don't actually align you. That's a misnomer. I'm sending energy for you to align yourself. That's a little more accurate.
You give them that power.
I'll probably talk from about 7 to, and I answer questions, be done by about 8:30 or so. That's probably the idea. But then afterwards, we can hang out for another hour and a half. We can talk. And if you want to measure, you'll be able to do that. If you want to be aligned, we can do that. It takes 1 second. It's no effort whatsoever. But I want everybody who attends to unquestionably know that this is real, true, and there may be some people there beside myself who can demonstrate it as well. This is a basic human skill that everybody can learn.
I think we get to the point that we're all gonna understand what we just talk about and actually adapt it as a way to heal ourselves and to be out there and help one another.
This is the whole idea, is that we can learn and discover who and what we really are. And in the process, we heal ourselves and the world.
Energy is everything. I believe that.
Totally.
And we can use it in our benefits and not only heal ourselves, but help other people.
Without any doubt. Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.